Good morning. It's Wednesday and we're doing Blue Week. And there are a few of you here already. So hello to Tisha and Cynthia and to anybody who watches this a little delayed so that you see at the very beginning. I know we'll have a few people pop in as they join us this morning, and that's absolutely fine. Just making sure sound's working okay here. Yes, okay, good. So I have one little note before we start because you're not losing your mind. I haven't messaged you with green videos yet. It's okay. I'm going to give you a choice right now. So the green videos are going to be on the website today. They're supposed to be there, well, by at least yesterday, but we had the electrician in to work yesterday, which wasn't expected and meant that we had no electricity. Breathe. But no electrician. In fact, no one else but me in the house today, so I can get everything done. I feel far more in control than I did for the last 48 hours where other people were turning the power off. Anyway, that's none of your concern, but I wanted you to know that you can choose to watch the two green videos first and then come back to this one. But if you want to watch live, I'm very, very happy that you're here as well. Okay? And so don't worry, I haven't forgotten you, I haven't forgotten the content, and we're not far off. We're this close, okay? So it's gonna be absolutely fine. All right, Christina's joined us. Now today we are doing blue, and we've got our blue kit on the desk. So let's unpack this. If you've already seen the prep video, then you know a little bit about what's in here, but let's have a little review. So here we go. So today I've got some birthday photos that aren't obvious birthday photos. So it's a birthday activity, but there's not like cake or balloons or anything like that. Good morning, Sophia. And I have got 2 4x6 photos and a black and white background paper. And then I've got some rainbow options here. So I'm going to be using this kind of fade here. You could use a blocky one with stripes like this. These are both kind of striped rainbows, if we can use that as a design term. If you wanted to do a fade that was more a smooth fade that was light blue at the top and dark blue at the bottom, rather than separate, that's the word I'm looking for, separate stripes. Either of those things could work. But we're just looking at like a range of blues. Yeah? Christina threw me totally, and I was reading through her comment and I couldn't figure out, why do I know these words? And then I realized the tune that they go to. Yes. So Christina's posting the lyrics to the blue da ba doo ba da da. Yeah. That song. Right. So other stuff that I've got. Now it's going to be in my head the whole time, so apparently it gets to be in yours too, and it was already in Christina's. And then I pulled out black and white plus this kind of greeny blue. So I wanted to do this one as our kind of link between the greens and blues. So we've got a lot of turquoisey blue in here today, but we're also going to have some real blue too. Some not blue-green, just real blue. And I've got stamps to do captions and things today. Lovely. Right, let's get started. Cynthia was fooled. She has this coffee cup paper, but when she turned it over, it was white. So you've either got it from the individual, like single-sided sheets that they did at Joann's, I think, or from the paper pad, which I think was also single-sided. I'm sorry about that. The double-sided has the blue ombre, but I pulled this one out because if you've got, if you see the two different papers, then you could see maybe that would help you in your mind go, oh, if I don't have this one, maybe I've got something more along the lines of, because that is a design concept that appears in lots of different collections. I put it in lots of my collections, but other designers do too. Yeah. Okay. So sketch. We've got, I just realized I picked up a black Sharpie and not the one I usually use. What? Let's see if it goes horribly wrong or if it's okay. I've also got some silvery iridescent-y glitters today. Exciting. So 2 4x6 photos and a central composition today. Might put them a little slightly more in the center, but anyway. 2 photos like this overlapped. Yeah, they kind of need to be a little bit more central. But I've got the tag, so that will make it more central. Okay. So that's a tag. Yeah. Then we're going to have this panel down the middle with the rainbow paper. So this is black and white pattern. This is the ombre or stripe. Yeah. Then embellishment things. Well, I've got the frame, which is going to go over the photo, sort of. So there's going to be a frame sitting here. That's totally optional, but I'm going to show you why I'm using it when I get there. And we're going to have an embellishment down here. That's the little camera, I think. It's going to go below here. I'm going to have some more tags up here. So tags are a good thing to pull out for this page. And then the title can fit in here. If you've got long title, it can fit down here as well. You get to start it up here and bring it down here. And then we'll end up with plenty of confetti in these corners. Like that. Right. So here's what we've got. And this is a good one that you can use with 2 photos for any sort of almost monochromatic design. I'm going to do it with the blue into the blue-green into the blue today, but you can use it with all different colors. The same idea will be absolutely fine. All right, let's take this branding strip off, and we've got a background to get started. So we've got that there, and then I'm going to take my my ombre paper and get the branding strip off there, and then so I'm going to cut this to 6 by 12. So it's almost as if I were doing a half and half composition, except the half and half is going in the middle. And that's pretty much the only thing I need to cut. Now, the ombre effect is going to bring the darker color down to the bottom, the lighter color up to the top. And then we want to get this centered in the middle if possible. You can measure it if you prefer, or you can eyeball it. And keep in mind that this pattern over here doesn't need to be this specific pattern. Any black and white pattern or a plain sheet of cardstock would be absolutely fine too. Okay. Let's get these 2 photos. Now, here's why I have that frame to use today. Because he's really tiny in this picture. But I didn't want to crop down to just that. And I did try that. I looked at it on the screen. I didn't print it out cropped that way. But when I cropped down to just this, when you take out the context of the hill, it didn't really make sense. It was hard to tell what he was doing because it didn't look like he was coming down the hill. When you take it down to just that bit, it looks kind of like he's just making a face sitting on the ground, where you need to see kind of the hill to see the motion. So to highlight him, then I'm going to put this frame around it, but leave the full background. Yeah. Now, one of the other things that's interesting about this composition is I'm not matting the photos. What? What has come over me? I'm not. I'm just going to overlap them like this. And then this frame around him here. But if your second photo here doesn't need a frame, that's absolutely fine. You can leave this off entirely. And if your second photo can't overlap, that's fine too. You could change this to be 2 photos square side by side, or 2 photos side by side but offset a little bit. And if they feel disconnected that way, you can add a photo mat to pull them together. Okay? Just different things for different pictures. So I'm going to put pop dots on there to bring that frame up. And pop it up. Okay. So now I've got this color, the same color here. So I can choose, do I want the contrast here or do I want the same color here? Well, that's part of why I'm popping it up, because I want this whole layout to feel like the stuff that's lighter is up at the top and the stuff that's darker is down at the bottom. And so I'm going to have it this way around, but if I had that flat, these are from 2 different products, but they are, or 2 different collections, but they are exactly the same color. So in order to have a little bit of definition between the 2, options would be inking the edges or popping it up, or both. So this is going to come over here. I probably shouldn't have taken quite all the adhesive off just yet, but it's okay. All right. And then my tag is going to come to this side. And see how this is a pretty good match for that. Now, it's a little longer than I want it to be, so I'm going to chop the bottom here. That's better. And then all of this can get stuck together before I stick it onto the layout. Yep. Sophia says she struggles to use frames and feels like it's quite the achievement if she manages to get one on a layout. Yeah, I have to remember, like I have to actually remind myself to use them sometimes. I think this actually needs to come down just a little bit. It's just the tiniest bit too high. That'll be better. Okay. Then all of this gets stuck to the background. Now, do I lose some of that color in the middle? Yes, it's okay. So central composition, and I've got this face. I'm going to put that right in the center. Now he's just a little bit below the middle here. That would be truly central. So I'm just offsetting the tiniest bit, but not very much. I'm mostly getting kind of an equal amount here and here below the photo where he's not centered in the photo, so top to bottom. So that's going to bring his face down just a little bit. Okay, that's all stuck. Now, where to go with other things? So I've got this tag to come up here, and I kind of wanted to have that same shape as the other one, so I'm going to cut my corners off here. Cut some corners. There we go. And that's going to sit behind there and get glitter all over my project and my desk forevermore. Okay, we've got a question that's come up. I'm going to answer that in just a moment. No problem. All right, I'm going to get these die cuts popped into place, and then I will take a little moment to do that. Right, now, remember I wanted to do the lighter colors up at the top and the darker colors down at the bottom? Yeah. Now this is not a particularly wonderful part of the photo, so I have no problem putting this over here. Yeah. And this one matches up here, so this is going to go across the top. Could tuck it underneath if it was the right kind of dimension, but it's not. So instead, that's going to go above. And again, I'm going to pop that up. Whoop. So I'm looking at all the embellishments I've pulled out, and I'm putting them in a spot where they match. Now remember the idea that you might use, instead of just a single shade, that you might use a rainbow version. Well, in that case, you're going to look at the exact same technique of finding different embellishments that match the different colors in your rainbow stripe, and then you're going to match them up. So when you find the peachy orangey kind of embellishment, you're going to put it in that spot on the layout. So the reason that you could use a multicolored paper like this, but still end up with a monochromatic layout, because you could do this either way. You could do it as a rainbow technique and have a rainbow of embellishments down, or you could take this. Remember, we cut this into 6 by 12, so I could cut this into 2 6 by 12 pieces, but I've covered up the middle here. So I could take this and just turn it the other way so that I could have this navy blue top and bottom, and the colors come together here. Or if by the time I worked out where my photos went, if it meant that I needed this little bit at the bottom and then this little bit at the top, either of those ideas could work. So you can take a rainbow version and use the technique in a rainbow fashion, or you can cut out just the pieces that are monochromatic and make it suit the space that you need, and then do the monochromatic embellishment that way, right? But whichever way you place that background paper is then where you're figuring out where the different pieces are going to go in your embellishment. Right, let's have a look at this question from Melinda. Hello, Melinda. Melinda says, do you use a lot of blue in paper and embellishments if your photos are heavy in blue, or would you use other colors predominantly? I would say it is completely not something to make 100% rule about. Yeah, not that we ever make 100% rules, but sometimes whatever the color is that's predominantly in my layout, I will use that. Other times I won't, because I would prefer the contrast. Yeah, and it's completely down. I've put this in the wrong place. It's completely down to finding, what style is going to inspire you to create on that day. So sometimes I'll have blue photos and I'll use a lot of blue in the layout. Other times I'll have blue photos and I'll use a contrasting color in the layout. Yeah. And I think that's really important to keeping your creative energy, is to remember that there isn't one way to do it, and that you can try it one way today and another way the next time that same predicament comes up, and then you'll always have more ideas. Whereas if you get yourself blocked into a pattern where you're like, oh, the photos are blue, therefore I must use blue paper, then you're very stuck and you don't have those options. Yeah. Does that make sense? I hope. Right. So I want this in this part of the page as well. Trying to decide, this is quite clever that this opens up like that. But it then also takes a big part of the page. Whereas I kind of like it tucked under like that. It could still open though. So I could just change where it goes. Okay, so I'm going to put a score line in this. I'm going to do that with my trimmer, but not the blade. Now you can buy a scoring blade for a trimmer, or you can use what you have to hand. So where do I want this to be? I want it to be above that. I'm halfway through that little box. Okay. So I check with the wire where it's going to be. And then I just need a stylus or a tool. Now, you're going to freak and think I'm using the piercing end of this. I'm not. So that's my paper piercer, but what I want is this end. So then I pick that back up. And score along that line. Now, did that score just the top? That's all I really need it to do. And so then that folds up and back down. Perfect. And then I can put this away. Okay. So to make that a little sturdier, I'm going to add some adhesive here so that it's not going to pull the layout apart when you pull this bit up. Okay, then all of the back of this, oh, which is cute. It's a shame that I'm covering that up, but these things happen. That's gonna go behind there. Oh, it can't go that far over or it'll run into the balloon. Hold the phone. So it needs to come over here. It can go that far. Yes, yeah, okay. There we go. Not Melinda, Christina says she's very comfortable using true blues, blue, green, and navy, but sometimes struggle with periwinkle blue. What would you pair it with? So periwinkle blue to me is harder because it is closer to a blue. I'm trying to see, do I even have something I would call periwinkle in my ink collection? I mean, shaded lilac is to the purple edge of periwinkle. And I don't use shaded lilac nearly as much as the rest of my purples. So, do I have a periwinkle in any ink at all? I don't really even think that I do. That's probably the closest. So I would say I find it easier if I pair periwinkle with purples to bring in the purple into the mix. Or you can go into other tones. Sophia's got some examples that she likes it with oranges and peaches. Yeah. I do like periwinkle with greens because then it's a more natural inspired color scheme of like the little blossoms and the green leaves. But yeah, I find periwinkle easier to work with toward the purples rather than toward the blues. If I was going to go with blues, then I wouldn't go with like a royal blue. I would go with something like a navy, like a turquoise. Yeah. All right. So now we've got some black and white pieces to add in as well. And I want to bring out those stamps. So. Yeah, my black and white pieces are the hat and the label. I think the hat is going to fit nicely over here. I'm on a real kick today, apparently, of popping things up. So let's pop it up. Now, see how the shape of this die cut has that space? So I either need to bring it all the way out here so that you see all the way through into there, or bring it over enough here that it overlaps onto the tag and gives you no gap in the middle. Because if I do this, it's very strange, and your eye tries to figure out, what is that? What's going on there? What's happening there? And so you have to either open it up or close it up to decide which, just to kind of give your eyes a rest rather than make them do work when they look at the page. Okay. So we have got some big letters, and then also where did this one come up from? Here. All of these different words that can build together because they're the title builder stamps from LA Studio. Right. So, could do something like, well, what will fit nicely in that gap? Does adventure fit in there? Yeah. Let's do that. And let's see, can we do an ink that will match up here? Well, I actually have one, if I know where it is. Yes, I went straight to it. Oh, that feels good. So this is Glass Slipper, and it's so pale. So we're going to try it, and if it's too pale to work, then I'll stamp it again in a darker shade. But I'd like to try and make it match here, which is pretty pale. Ooh, it is pale, but it does match. So I think that's okay. Okay. What else? Oh, there we go. What else are we going to pop up here with this? So we can do all these, there's little phrases that can fit inside there. We can do remember this adventure, embracing this adventure. Okay. You can do awesome, but that's going to go right over the top of that. So I think I'm going to mix this with the letter stickers. Yeah, okay, so this is going to pop behind that banner, but high enough that we can read it. Lovely. And then we've got some letter stickers. Now these are in the true blue of the bottom. But if I were to stamp the big letters on here in that same color ink, I don't think it's going to be easy to read it. Okay. Yeah, okay. So, bring these up here. And I'm thinking what it will work out will be that this is the one bit of the darker color from the bottom coming up to the top. And then nothing else will have that, so it will connect the two. What is that? Get away. Oh, hello, spell Shimelle. I got excited there. We'll skipped a letter. Oh, this is a little thing, a little trick. See how if I get the spacing on the U so that the tops line up, I have to have quite a big gap here. Take the top of the right-hand side down, and then it can sit right underneath. Okay, so I've got outdoor adventure, and then I can bring in another word above the top there. And having the two words in the pale ink will then make it a little more obvious that those words are part of the title and the title isn't just outdoor. Yeah. There we go. But likewise, if you look at that and you're like, actually, no, I really wish that that was darker and more obvious, then look at other techniques that you could use. So you could stamp them in white ink or black ink. You could stamp it all in the navy from the bottom. You could stamp it in white, or you could emboss it so that it's got more texture to it, which makes it a little bit more obvious. All sorts of things like that. Tisha says, what stamp sets are these? They are the Title Builder stamp sets from Ellie's studio. They have more than just two. I think these were the first two that they did, but they have quite a few now in different themes. Okay. Then I've got space to journal here, and I've got one more of these die cuts. Where might it go? But it might go nowhere. Although actually, kind of like it over here on the tag. Yeah, and I could take that speech bubble off. It's not bad though. And it kind of goes across here. Okay, let's pop that there. This is going to bring, so see this little corner here? I don't want to make a corner there that makes my eye go, what's happening? So that's going to go all the way, all the way across there. I have just a little bit of orange at the bottom. And then this, if this were to bother me, that this comes all the way out to the outside, I just smooth this into a circle here. But in this case, this is enough space here that it's obvious what this is. This amount of space doesn't make me go, what's happening there? But if this does, if you're going, why is there a speech bubble there? Then you would look at your speech bubble and just cut that off and turn it into an oval. It's absolutely fine. Okay, confetti. So journaling's going here, remember? And I have lots of confetti elements out, including these that have different shades. So I'm going to take some white stars to start. These are also Ellie's studio. Oh, that's not where I wanted it to go. Okay, so I wanted it to go right on top of this glitter. Is it going to stick? Yes, it did. Well, that's happy. I wasn't sure. There, and the little one. So this is 3 stars there. That's probably enough. This is the color that's in the middle here. These are little stick-on buttons. So place these around here. I'm going to do 3 on this side, and then I'm going to put some on the frame here. Yeah. Okay. Dots. Now, are any of these a good match now? The navy works. Okay. So I'm going to bring this down to where the balloon string has some movement. So all of these little confetti embellishments are in threes. 3 stars, 3 buttons, 3 buttons, 3 enamel dots. Yeah. Oop, oop, oop. And then some pearls. This one also has Mickey shaped pearls. It even has Mickey shorts, but I'm just going to be using the plain ones today. And wanted to put these kind of along here. That bounced back up and stuck to me. Oh no, it's gonna have no sticky left from sticking to me so many times. There we go. 1, 2, 3. One. Nope, upside down. 2, 3. One, 2, 3. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. Sophia says, the clusters are in threes, but my brain would still overthink that there are 4 clusters. Because you're thinking, what, 1, 2, have I got rid of it now that I've put more on? Were you thinking 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, the answer there is just keep going. Just keep going. And with the little pearls, they're so small and tiny little details, so you can just keep going. So sometimes maybe you put your journaling in and then it doesn't fit exactly how you imagine and you end up with a little open space. Just put some little pearls or enamel dots in there. That's absolutely fine. Yeah. So we're pretty much done here. So I've got room for some journaling that's going to be obvious here. And more journaling can fit in here. Now, how do I deal with the page protector? Your choice. Is it journaling that you want it to be easy to read even though it's hidden? If so, then you cut a slot in the page protector and this will sit on the outside of the page protector. Yeah. And all I do to figure that out is put the page in the page protector, mark off with a pencil and a ruler where it needs to open. Now on this, it's going to need to go all the way to that little wider bit so that it will fit through. And then you take the page out, put some cardboard or something inside, and you cut the line in the page protector. And then when you put the page back in, you thread it through, and this sits on the outside. Some people also prefer, instead of cutting one slit and sliding it through, to cut 3 sides on the page protector, and then this folds up with it rather than it sitting on the outside. Either of those will work, and they make your hidden journaling very accessible. If you want your hidden journaling to not be accessible, you want it to only be there for those who make the effort of going to look longer and you know, taking the page out of the page protector carefully and removing it, then you don't do anything to the page protector and they have to take the whole out. And that is a completely valid choice, because sometimes you might want writing that only you read or only somebody who is very interested is going to read. Yeah? Okay. Any other questions on that composition? Things you could do to make it even a little bit fancier. Anytime you do a column like this, you can add a border treatment here if you want. So if you want to do another piece of paper and have it have an edge along the way, you can do that. Or you could take that whole center section and pop the whole thing up if you want lots of dimension. Keeping in mind that these are really thick. I don't think I could get away with that now, because to go up another level, it would be really thick. But you can do it, and just don't use embellishments that are quite that tall. Those buttons are pretty big. All right, any questions from those of you who are here live now? And I'm going to check our blue thread for any questions as well. But we're all good there, yeah. I checked earlier and there weren't any blue questions ready for today. Oh no, I've lost my window. Where are you? Let's find you. There we are. Okay, any questions about blue that you'd like me to answer today while we're live? Okay. Now, if you watch this later and you want to see an answer to something, like you're watching this later and you're like, oh, I didn't see it live, but I really have a question, please just put it on the thread and I will get you an answer, no problem. Sophia is thinking of how this concept would look amazing in different color combos if you wanted to go brighter, like an orange background. Yeah, so you can use this technique in absolutely any color scheme that you want. I wanted to show it to you in the kind of blue-green going to blue, because sometimes people are like, oh, blue-green and blue don't go together. And of course they can. Of course they can. So you could piece that background together with the colors of your choice or from any pattern paper that you want. And there are a couple other things here that I wanted you to see that they can work. So I can break the rule of I'm following everything along with the colors by putting those darker blue letters up at the top, and it's absolutely fine. And in fact, gives a nice bit of framing. Or I can bring in something that actually isn't 100% to my color scheme, so it's not completely monochromatic. I've got a bit of pink and a bit of orange over there, but that's okay. It doesn't look out of place. I've got a little bit of yellow here, but I've got other colors in my photos too, so don't feel like you have to get locked in. If you looked at your black and white background and then thought, oh, I wish it had a bit more color, you could add some ink or painting into that background paper and you could make it follow. So I could do a lighter, I could take, this was April, so I could take every box that says April and color it in blue, and I could start really light and go to darker paint. All sorts of different little extras I could do like that. Sophia says, if you have pictures that are mostly blue sky, perhaps with washed out buildings. I have pics that are in bright sun and the buildings have little color because of that. And it would be nice to pick out the bright blue because sunshine is a key part of the memory, but easy to overdo it. Yeah, so balance it with a color that's going to offer some contrast, like pastel pink. You can even balance it with white. Well, with how our buildings look right now, where they've put up all the Jubilee bunting, it would be lovely to balance it with red, but in many cases, that's going to be too much. So, yeah, I would look at softer things like white, like buttery yellow, and like pastel pink. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. I know these morning time slots will always have a smaller audience because a lot of people are not awake yet, but that's okay. I wanted to make sure there was a mix of times so that it would suit everybody at some point to join live if they could. So I'm glad that some of you could join me today, and I hope to see you soon. I will email you today with all the green fun, and we'll get started on more blue too. Enjoy. Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.